What's up? What's going on? Hide and read. I'm back. I've been here the whole time. You're back. This is my channel. What are we talking about? I got a stack of books here that I finished reading, and I want to share them with you, and some of my thoughts, and all that corny, sentimental stuff. Because we're friends, and that's what we do. And if you're not uploading the books that you've been reading and showing them to me, are we really friends? Get it together. Vengeance Valley, The Edge, George Gilman. Edge is not your hero, okay? Get over it. Get over it. The only thing that Edge cares about is the edge. And money. The edge is money. On the back of the book it says that he lost 25,000. It's 2,500. The carelessness of the editor is insane here, but okay. Anyway, yeah, like I was saying, Edge number 17, my guy is not your hero, okay? He's a bifurcated badass, and he's just not going to live up to your Lone Ranger expectations. It's not happening. He's not a good guy. Enjoy the story. Which I think you will. Check them out. Edge. Vengeance Valley. If you see these paperbacks and they're like under $5, just grab them. Just grab them. Because these stories are kind of despicable. To like, they're supposed to be offensive, but to like a modern audience, I think it's too much. I don't think these will be getting reprinted anytime soon, unless there's like a big change in printing or just like social currency in general. But yeah, if you see these, pick them up. I only have two. This is my last one, so now I'm like kind of desperate and fiending to find more. So if you don't want to read them, grab them for me. You can send them to me. I'll send you something you might not hate. I don't know. Remove my nicotine pouch. Those things burn, man. I quit smoking cigarettes. I was smoking cigarettes all 2025, like 10 a day. Like a damn chimney. And yeah, just quit over one day smoking cigarettes. Now I'm doing these. I don't want to give out the brand, but it's like 6 milligram nicotine pouches. Seems much stronger than a cigarette, to be honest. But yeah, if you know anybody struggling with that, that's pretty effective. I'm not smoking anymore, and it's nice. Okay, I probably smell better too. So that was the Cossacks. That was Vengeance Valley. I'll just tell you right now, I shot this video a bunch of times already, and I'm over it. Now we'll get into the Cossacks. Leo Tolstoy. Nice, classic literature, and a lot of fun. It had romance in it. It had cool historical, like cultural anecdotes about Cossacks that were living along the Terek River on the border of Chechnya. And there's a Russian, he's like kind of like a noble soldier. He's a cadet, actually. And he gets sent out to this Chechen front. And his base is a village of these Cossacks. And so you get like, over a year of him being there, you get like all these like little snippets of the Cossack culture. And then the other half of the story is the other point of the love triangle that this cadet finds himself in. There's some like philosophy. The character progresses, like becomes more, and yeah, I mean, that's really everything that we want in a novel is here. Just believe me on this one. Leo Tolstoy, The Cossacks. It has a love triangle. It has action. There's guns. You know what was missing? It would have been cool if there was like a little bit of sword play. But there's lots of daggers. There's lots of large daggers on and other military accoutrements. So I really think you guys, if you like the channel, you like the stuff that I read, you'll love this. And if you read it already, tell me about it. I didn't read this book. I just wanted to show it because I'm planning on reading it after being all excited about this Cossack book. And Quiet Flows the Dawn, Mikhail Sholokhov, which is the second, I don't know. I think this is the first book in the series, and then this is the second one. The Dawn Flows Home to the Sea. One or the other. I'll read both. How about that? Got these nice vintage paperbacks that are like oversized. So, pretty cool. Excited to learn more about Cossacks. I mentioned in a previous video that I wasn't that enthusiastic about the whole Cossack thing because it's like kind of a big, I don't know. The previous generation of my family was like big into the Cossack thing. There's like even different Cossack groups in Pennsylvania. I don't even know if they're still around. I bet they are though. Yeah, Pennsylvania is a trip, especially around Philadelphia. If you are like Russian, of like Russian heritage, just driving around, even the outskirts of Philadelphia, you'll see so much like Russian American infrastructure, like meeting halls and just like community centers and stuff that obviously are not in use by Russian Americans anymore. I think maybe it seems like 4 generations, the whole Russian thing kind of fades into the American experience. I have family members. My last name is Michener. Bet you never heard that one. It's not Italian. But yeah, I have family members that we encountered like around 2000, maybe 2005, around when I moved to New Jersey, that we didn't know about, that we were separated at Ellis Island. And this other side of the family is completely American. Like if you saw them at the store, you would never think anything about it. Like I look pretty American. I am American. But these dudes got me beat. They got me beat. So they're like cool, kind of like, I don't know what else to say, white trash kind of dudes, which those are my people. I love it. What can I say? Anyway, I just thought that was funny. If you Google the old man in the family, the grandpa, he would have been like, the patriarchal figure. If you Google my last name, eventually you'll find that he was growing a bunch of weed in his basement when it was illegal. So yeah, these dudes, they still had that Cossack blood. So they're out there in South Jersey having fun. So anyway, I just thought that was fun to mention. Back to the books, right? We talked a little bit about native cultures and Westerns. So how about the native cultures that are in Westerns? Empire of the Summer Moon, S.C. Gwynn. This is really cool. It's about the Comanches, but you're also going to get Texas Rangers. You're going to get like different tribes like Kiowa, Apache, Iroquois, all mentioned and explained like what is the difference between these tribes. And I feel like as Americans, we have this silly notion that it was like settlers versus the natives. This is just ridiculous, and that we just came and took advantage of all these people, and yeah, they did but everybody's taking advantage of everybody. And once you learn more of the history, you'll realize that the Comanches were doing exactly what happened to them to all of the other tribes in the Southwest. Not because they're bad people, but this was just the culture that was going on. it's like it's very interesting that the scouts that the Americans used to hunt the Comanches were Native American. They're from different warring tribes and Kiowa mostly, and those guys practice cannibalism. Like the Native Americans that we were friends with were cannibals practicing cannibalism. So like this neat cut and dry story that we have is completely inaccurate, and this will shatter a lot of those illusions. Uh, and I feel like a lot of times people they don't like that term noble savage, but I don't really see what's wrong with it, especially like when you read about the life of Quanah Parker. He he was one of these guys going on the raiding other villages, killing people. They're definitely raping women. I don't know. It's just that's what's going on. They didn't write it down, but it happened. That's what was going on. There, like we said with the Edge story, there's really no good guys. There's no heroes. You got to get over it. And yeah, knocked it out of the park here. Empire of the Summer Moon. I really enjoyed the Texas Ranger stuff, like just how the Texas Rangers um, kind of adopted this new form of weaponry, the revolver pistol, and then they also used the strategies that the Comanche were using on horseback, where they would, because originally the Americans would get off of their horses and shoot at the Comanche, which was just not possible because the Comanche would ride at you in this spinning wheel. So like they're all moving, but it's just like this big wheel coming at you. And there's nothing that like standard military procedure at the time could deal with this. And yeah, the eventually I forget the name of the gentleman. He ended up becoming really famous. This specific Texas Ranger kind of adapted a lot of their fighting techniques, like shooting from the horse, um, riding and going on the side of the horse and shooting under the horse's like neck, so that you're covered the entire time. And so like a lot of it's kind of like this like drive by kind of shooting, and then they go back and like exchange and stuff. And they even mention at one time that there's like kind of this romantic cultural exchange that's going on between the two groups, where they're, and the exchange is happening in between the two armies, and the guys are literally going in and exchanging in battle. It's like kind of just like a really cool kind of like meta symbolic thing where it meets reality, and I don't know. That affected me. I'll just say that. Another history. Told you I wanted to get more serious in my reading. Stories of New Jersey, Frank R. Stockton. I think this book is from like 1905 or something like that. It's old. It's an older book. There was supposed to be 1896. So there's supposed to be a whole series of these for like all the different states, and they got this author, Frank R. Stockton, who has a lot of books, but I never heard of him before, to write the one for New Jersey. And I think they ended up making 2 or 3 of these books before the project kind of got pushed to the side and never finished. But this was awesome. I prefer the older histories, and especially when it comes to like local stuff. The more local it is, I prefer it to be older. Um, yeah, this is awesome. It's like a general kind of like reader book where there's no footnotes. It's not like an advanced study or anything. This is just like a general overall different little anecdotes and stories about the history of New Jersey. And it's not in like a progressive order, like then this happened, then that happened. It's just a collection of anecdotes. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Um, One thing in here, I already knew about this, but it's fun to talk about. In New Jersey, I don't know about the other states, women could vote. Like we didn't really need the suffrage. Women could already vote. Um, and also, black people could vote. Now, obviously, slaves couldn't vote. White slaves couldn't vote either. But black people were voting in New Jersey. It's recorded. Um, and they were owning slaves as well. So that kind of like turns this whole, I just hate the narrative that, in America that we've been given on history. It's completely bogus. It's completely bogus and lacks any kind of like nuance or understanding. So how are women um, and black people voting in New Jersey? I don't think there's any black women recorded voting though. The way that this happened was that to vote, you needed to own property. So anybody that owned is a certain amount of property, and if I'm remembering correctly, the amount is like equal to, it was like 5 slaves or something, but it didn't necessarily have to be 5 slaves. But basically, you were guaranteed if you had 5 slaves, you were going to get to vote. And there's another thing I didn't know about that that I learned in this book is that New Jersey was this is way before the Revolution, was encouraging people to come to New Jersey and with slaves, and if you brought like a certain amount of slaves, they would pay you basically. So it's just like they were trying to get as many people into the state as possible, probably to tax them. I know it's like the Lord of Carteret or something. There's like a lot of funny kind of anecdotes of him trying to collect the taxes from these people in New Jersey who are just like savages, like just bandits and and just like people that have been kicked out of Europe, basically. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. Going to be reading more local history books. I have a bunch that I need to get to, especially as I plan to leave New Jersey. I should get those read. Let's change directions. It's like this by the Venerable Ajahn Chah. So here's Ajahn Chah. No nonsense, but also a little bit silly, kind of fun guy. This isn't like a book that he wrote. This is just a collection of just little snippets of his different sermons, and all of them are comparing one thing to another, and a lot of it is just like comparing like the way chickens behave, or snakes, or the way a river flows, or like drinking water out of a cup or something, and then explaining how this relates to your path to enlightenment, basically. If you are interested in Buddhism, I'm just going to give you a hot tip here. Stay away from the Tibet stuff. It's like eventually get into that, but when you start reading about Buddhism, start in India and then follow into like Cambodia, Laos, Thailand. You want to catch up on this Theravada tradition because those are the guys practicing the historical Buddhism as accurate as it could be, because they're the ones with all the canons and stuff. Once you get up into Nepal and stuff, it's a completely different religion. It's not really Buddhism. It's actually Bon shamanism, and all these Bon shamans are wearing the dress of Buddhist monks. And then you go down into China, and then you have Mahayana Buddhism, which is also what we get a lot of. We get a lot of like this Pure Land Amitabha Buddha, which is nice. It's interesting, but if you are thinking that that's Buddhism, it's not. It's not. You're not getting the actual teachings. Like Siddhartha Gautama was not teaching about the Pure Land. It just wasn't a thing. And that's just a hot tip for anybody looking to investigate that a little bit further. Alternately, you could probably start with Zen Buddhism, which those dudes are just straight to the point, no nonsense, and I think you could figure out the Dhamma the philosophy of the Buddha through Zen Buddhism or through some Theravada traditions. But like I said, save the Mahayana stuff for later. It's fun, it's cool, but you don't start building a house from the top down. It just doesn't work that way. Anyway, I read another chapter. I should have read two, but I read another chapter of James Michener, Alaska, which just so happened to involve Russians colonizing the area around the Bering Strait in Alaska. I don't remember if they got to Alaska quite yet, uh, but yeah, they could see it in the distance at least. This has been a lot of fun. James Michener, Alaska. I saw James Michener has another book that I'm interested in, Poland. So we'll see. The Bride Wore Black, Cornell Woolrich. I was so excited to find this book, and pretty much as soon as I got home, I started reading it, and I just didn't stop reading it until I was done. Duh. But yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. You remember I was complaining about the cover? I fixed it. So Cornell Woolrich. I'm not big into crime fiction. I like my crime to be nonfiction, but I just love the way that Cornell Woolrich writes about anything. Like it's easy to read, but at the same time you'll be like, wait, what the heck? And then you go back and read. Like sometimes you do have to go back and read a sentence because the way that he structures things is like in a non typical way, and it's almost always impressive. I'm just really looking forward to the next Cornell Woolrich book. So that's what I got for you guys. I think that's everything. And until next time, find somewhere to hide, find something to read. Peace.